This happened a few months ago, December of last year to be exact. I had just started a new job at a mall. Being a student who didn't go home for the holidays, I figured I'd work through it. I needed the money and it kept me busy. I was scheduled to work most of Boxing Day and finished my shift around 10 p.m. That's when I realized something. I had no idea that public transportation ended at 7 p.m. on holidays. Totally caught me off guard, so I did what most people do these days. I called an Uber. The driver picked me up right outside the mall entrance. At first, it was just a normal ride, casual conversation. He asked about work. I told him a bit, how I was living alone for the holidays, how my roommates went home to visit family and stuff like that. It felt safe to share in the moment. That was a mistake. Fast forward to the next workday at 6 p.m. I'm behind the counter at my store when the Uber driver walks in. He just shows up like this was normal and tries to start a conversation. I brush it off, saying I had to get back to work. But before he leaves, he asks, "So, are we going to hang out later?" I said no. I was firm. He left without pushing it, but something about it stuck with me. Later that night, it's now 10 p.m. and I'm walking out of work, planning to take the bus home. As soon as I step outside, he's there. He pulls up next to me in his car, rolling down the window. "Hey, let me give you a ride. It's free." I told him no. He kept insisting. "Seriously, it's free. Come on, just hop in." I said no again. He kept pressing. After a few more uncomfortable back and forths, I walked away, found the nearest bus stop, and rode home. I was shaken. He had waited over 3 hours outside my job just to try and give me a free ride home. I reported the whole thing to Uber. Thankfully, they took it seriously. They suspended the driver, refunded my previous trip, and even sent me a link to file a police report, should I choose to. Looking back, I was way too open with a stranger. I should never have told him I was living alone. I should never have shared details about my life. Lesson learned. I don't know what would have happened if I got in his car that second night, but the thought still gives me chills. 6 months later, I'm scrolling through Facebook when I come across a Crime Watch article. I click on it. The face in the mugshot looks familiar. It was him, my Uber driver. He had been arrested for multiple counts of kidnapping, and far worse, involving young women, around my age, around my area. To the man who waited outside my job, who tried to convince me to get in his car that night, I hope we never meet again. I hope you stay behind bars, and I hope others trust their instincts before it's too late. A few months ago, I was at a friend's house late at night and decided to call an Uber home around 2 a.m. My friend lives in a rural area, so it took a while for the Uber to arrive, and the drive home was about 40 minutes. Upon entering the Uber, the driver immediately commented on how pretty I was, which set off red flags for me. As someone who is already anxious about taking Ubers alone at night, this made me even more uneasy. About 5 minutes into the ride, the driver asked if the person who saw me off was my boyfriend. I replied yes, hoping it would deter any further inappropriate comments. However, he continued to talk about how lucky my boyfriend was and reiterated how pretty I was. I chose not to respond. 10 minutes into the drive, the driver mentioned he knew a quicker way to get to my house and suggested taking a detour. This detour led us deeper into rural roads away from the city, which heightened my anxiety. I tried calling my dad, but it was past 3 a.m. and he didn't answer. I then decided to call 911, pretending to be on the phone with my dad. The operator quickly realized I was in distress and began asking me questions about the car's color, make, and my location, to which I responded with simple yes or no answers. When asked if I was in danger, I replied, "I don't know." After providing my location, the operator instructed me to tell the driver to get on the highway, as the detour he took was through more isolated roads. Fortunately, we were only about 5 minutes from the highway and another 10 minutes from a police station. The operator then directed me to ask the driver to drop me off at a specific address near the police station, assuring me that an officer would be waiting there to take me home. I politely requested the driver to change the drop-off location, and after some hesitation, he agreed. I stayed on the phone with the operator until we reached the destination. As promised, an officer was waiting a few houses down. I got out of the Uber and walked straight towards the police car. This experience was terrifying, and I'm grateful for the 911 operator's guidance and the officer's assistance. It reinforced the importance of trusting my instincts and being prepared to act when something feels off. I don't even know how to explain what happened. I've been a long-time lurker on Reddit. I've read hundreds of creepy stories, watched all the true crime breakdowns, but this one is mine. It was last Saturday. I went out with some friends to celebrate. We drank, laughed, stayed out late. By the end of the night, I was tired and definitely not in shape to drive. So I did what anyone would do. I opened the Uber app. My driver's name was Mike. He was listed as driving a black Honda Civic. About 5 minutes later, a black Civic pulled up. Same plate number, same car. I got in. We didn't talk much. I was exhausted. He drove me home, dropped me off. I went inside. That should have been the end of it. The next night, I looked out my window and saw a black Honda Civic parked on my street. I didn't think much of it. It's a common car, could be anyone. But the next night, same car. Night after that, still there. It would leave and come back, just sitting, watching. By the fourth night, I was getting freaked out, so I decided to check the plate. I grabbed a bag of trash and walked outside, trying to look casual. I memorized the license number and rushed back in. The next morning, I called Uber, told them everything. I gave them the plate and asked if that was Mike, the guy who picked me up. They said Mike was in the system, but he had never picked anyone up. Not once. He didn't drive that night. The guy who took me home wasn't even an Uber driver. He was just a random man in a black Honda Civic, pretending to be my ride. And now, he's been parking outside my house. I called the police. They said unless he comes onto my property or physically approaches me, there's nothing they can do, so I left. I'm staying with a friend for now, but I can't stop thinking about it. He found me once. He picked me up without me knowing. He knows where I live, and I still don't know what he wants, or how long he's been watching, or what might have happened if I got in that car again. If anyone out there has dealt with something like this, if you know what to do next, please let me know, because I'm scared this isn't over. This happened a while ago. Compared to some of the terrifying stories I've heard, mine might seem mild, but it still lives in my head, and I think about it way too often. I was a bit of a late bloomer when it came to driving. I didn't get my license until my 20s. But living in the city, it didn't really matter. Between walking, transit, and rideshare apps, I could get anywhere I needed to go. I used Uber all the time. To get to work, to meet up with friends. Some of the drivers even started to recognize me. There were a few weird ones, but nothing like this. I was 23. Working an office job downtown. One evening, I ordered an Uber to go home. A car pulled up, I got in, said hi. He confirmed my address and we started driving. I didn't recognize him. He looked maybe mid-30s, kind of heavy-set. But what stood out right away was how often he looked at me through the rearview mirror. And then he said it. I've picked you up before, which at first didn't seem weird. I Ubered a lot. It was bound to happen. But then he started talking, and it got weird fast. He asked if I still worked at the same office, mentioned names of old friends. Asked if I still lived with the same people. Then it got deeper. He remembered where I was from, my high school, my college, what I studied, how many siblings I had. He listed it all. Even asked questions he already knew the answers to, just to confirm. You have 2 sisters, right? You went to that university downtown. You were majoring in communications, right? And I just sat there, because I don't remember ever telling any Uber driver this much about me. I've always been quiet, polite, but not chatty. My answers were always vague. Yeah, I've got some siblings. Or, oh, I'm from south of the city. That's it. So how did he know so much? Then he started asking even more personal questions. Relationship status, what year I graduated, where I like to go out. He somehow even knew I had a male roommate and asked what my relationship was with him. At this point, I was frozen, uncomfortable, and I stopped cooperating. My answers got short, then silent, just uh-huh and I was hoping he'd take the hint. He didn't. He kept asking, and every few seconds kept looking at me through the mirror. Then, near the end of the ride, he shifted again, told me my name was pretty, said I was beautiful, smart, that he hoped we'd match again. When we pulled up, he asked which door was mine. I didn't answer. I gave him my landlord's instead, but he pulled up to my real door anyway. Before I could get out, he turned around, smiled, and said, "This is the longest ride we've ever taken together." Then he said, "Hope I see you again soon. Have a good night." I got out, walked around the building, waited for him to leave. Then I reported him right away. Back then, Uber still had real people working customer support. They responded fast. Said he'd be blocked from matching with me again. Said they'd investigate. For the next few weeks, I took the bus. I never saw him again, and I never had a ride like that again. But I still wonder, how did he know all that? Was he writing it down? Was he watching me? Following me? I don't use rideshare apps anymore. I've moved since then, got my own car. I'm in a better place now. But to that Uber driver, who knew everything about me, I hope we never, ever meet again. I had just flown home after a work trip. 3-hour flight, middle seat, barely any sleep the night before. All I wanted was to get home, take a shower and pass out. My flight landed just after midnight. Baggage claim was empty. The airport was quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your footsteps echo. I opened the Uber app, ordered a ride. A guy named Brandon accepted. He was driving a black Ford Escape. Said he'd be there in 5 minutes. He pulled up to the terminal curb exactly when the app said. The plate matched. Driver looked about right. I got in. He smiled, said, "You heading home?" I nodded and gave a tired, "Yeah, long day." He confirmed the address, same as what I entered in the app. So far, so good. We pulled away from the airport. At first, it felt normal, quiet, just the hum of the engine and soft music on the radio. But a few minutes in, something felt off. The highway signs were wrong. He took an exit I've never used before, and I've lived here for 10 years. I sat up straighter, looked at my phone. We were going the opposite direction of my house. I asked, "Hey, is this a detour or something?" He didn't answer right away, just kept his eyes on the road. Then finally said, "Don't worry, it's just a quicker route. I drive this way all the time." But it wasn't quicker. It wasn't familiar. And my location dot on the app, no longer tracking. It showed I had been dropped off. The ride had ended. I was still in the car. My stomach dropped. I opened the Uber app again. Nothing. Ride history gone. No way to contact support from inside the app, because it said the trip was complete. He turned onto a narrow road. No lights, no signs, just woods on both sides. I asked again, "Where are we going?" He ignored me, then locked the doors with a click. I didn't wait. I hit the emergency SOS on my phone. I held it in my lap and quietly whispered to Siri to call 911. I kept my voice low, gave them my name, told them I was in a black SUV, tried to explain where I thought I was. Dispatcher told me to keep the line open, stay quiet, help was coming. The car slowed down suddenly. He pulled into a gravel patch and turned off the engine. No houses, no lights, just trees. He turned around in his seat and looked at me, smiled, and said, "This is where I drop you off." I didn't move, just stared at him. Then, flashing lights appeared behind us, 2 police cruisers. He didn't even have time to shift into drive. They yanked open both doors, pulled him out, pulled me out. I was shaking, couldn't even speak. Later, they told me the SUV was not registered to Brandon. The real Uber driver had cancelled at the last minute. This guy pulled up just a few minutes later. Right car, wrong person. He had fake Uber stickers on the windshield. They found duct tape, gloves, and rope under the back seat. And remember, fear doesn't go away. It just follows you home.